Tom?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Overstreet?
Yes.
Mr. Belly?
Yes.
President Myers?
Yes.
I put a good one.
Okay.
You just have to sign when they go up.
Yeah, that's fine. So now we'll have discussion on the revocation of the CUP for 5 hours. Frank, you want to move on to allow the public to speak first, or?
I'll just do a quick introduction, and then you could, hear from the chief, I'll just swear the chief in.
That's fine.
If that's all right with you.
You want to just swear everybody in?
I'll have them sign in here, I'll swear.
Okay, very good.
We don't have a form out there. Just a quick background, most of you probably remember, the city granted a conditional use permit, I think it was at the November 10th meeting by way of legislation around 2024. There were a couple conditions on there, one of them, number two was, there are a few conditions, number two was comply with state liquor law. Within days, November 15th, we had our first call over there from intoxicated customer in the parking lot. November 29th, we had another call from intoxicated patron attempting to drive. December 20th, my recollection, and chief will know some of this stuff better. We have asked Governor DeWine's COVID curfew. December 26th, the liquor department was out there, and I believe they issued citations on December 26th. December 27th, we were called back out at 10 o'clock at night, past the curfew hours, there's still some 35 cars in the parking lot. December 30th, multiple occupants past curfew hour, the neighboring bar Circle Lounge was closed. February 5th, there was a call out there by, to assist the liquor department again with regards to a large fight with possible weapons, narcotics, and handgun recovered by the liquor department, I believe. Then most recently, the most alarming was February 13th, last Friday, at 1:22 in the morning, we were called out for shots fired. There were officers reported that some 100 people were scattered from the parking lot. A number of people involved, uncooperative witnesses. Then within hours later that same day, the following night, our department was out there to assist with the liquor department again. At that point in time, there was suspected drug trafficking in marijuana and mushrooms. There was a gun with no concealed carry. Again, we had resisting one of our officers. I think had chased the gun across the parking lot. So we're taking this step to revoke the conditional use permit. We scheduled the emergency meeting. I provided Mr. Sam Thomas, who was the attorney for the applicant, advised originally the conditional use permit was revised. I provided him notice by way of email at 2:37 yesterday. I also sent a notice by way of his online contact website. And then I did hear and talk with attorney Mark Coolin on behalf of the business that is selling the liquor license. As a courtesy to her, I provided her a copy of the same email that I had provided to Sam, and I provided that to Kathy at 3:23 p.m. That would have had the notice of tonight's meeting as well as proposed legislation. What I would propose that you do is maybe take first the testimony from the chief. I'll swear him in, and as you call up people for and against the revocation of the CUP, we'll just have to sign in on the form there. I'll swear them in as they come up and answer any questions you have.
I'd like to hear that from Chief Wright.
You better swear in. Of course, I'll take most of them. I think that's the guy down.
Just go over a little bit more with the law director. One that we pulled the history, it started on November 15th, which is what the law director spoke about, the intoxicated person being there, refusing to leave, not holding the time for a liquor establishment. The curfew started on the 19th, and then we spoke to the owners there. There was a concern with the liquor license, which was all worked out because we realized it was in the limbo period during specifically because of COVID, and just with the license not specifically granted to them at the time. On the 21st, or 2 days after the curfew, we were there for the business having a lot of people still inside. That was at 10:30, so a half hour after the curfew, we got everyone cleared out without too much of a problem. On the 29th, at 1:06, we got a call of a highly intoxicated female. Again, not uncommon for a liquor establishment, but 1 o'clock, should have been closed 3 hours earlier. We ended up getting that resolved with, without too much issues. We received a couple complaints from other businesses that were closed, so we were checking all our businesses to make sure after 10 o'clock there was no illegal cars in the parking lot, no businesses operating past the curfew. The couple minor stuff for parking and such. On 12th of December, there were still 20 cars in the parking lot. It was just after curfew at 10:03, so we cleared things out then. There was an allegation that there were some underage people in the bar, and we did check that out, and that was not the case, and that was unfounded. And then a few minor things, and another multiple occupants in the business at 10:20. Two more parking things. And these were all things, those are all our CAD screens. And the CAD screen is generated anytime we do anything from looking for a missing dog to, a major event. There's always something generated to show who is there, what time, address, things of that nature. And then reports are generated for the larger events. The first one we had on 12/20 at 11:07, we had report of over 50 cars in the parking lot. Officers arrived, sound system was playing. They spoke to the manager, and they got people to exit. It said that the room was hazy from smoke. There was approximately 100 plus people inside. That one we forwarded to the health department and to liquor control due to the time after the curfew that they were operating. Sent that out to them, and then we showed back up with them to issue the citation. We had an incident on the 31st that we did a follow-up for the FBI. One of the security guards, a number of different times that we dealt with him, he identified himself and showed FBI credentials, not a badge, but FBI ID, saying he worked for the FBI, which in turn he did. He worked as a kind of like in the dispatching center, in their call center, and the FBI actually called us because they wanted to report on that because it was probably against their rules and regulations. But there was a number of different times we dealt with him. He would always cooperate, no issues with anything other than probably over-representing himself in that capacity. We went back on the 26th with the Ohio Investigative Service to issue the citation for the violation. We went there at 10:20 p.m. and arriving, walking in the front area, ran into the bar, yelled for everyone to put their mask on. The officer and sergeant stood by while the liquor control ended up then another day on, should be the 6th of February. We were notified that OIU was going to be out in that area. Short time later, we were requested for a fight, guns possibly being involved. When officers arrived, they assisted OIU, and they found a large amount of suspected narcotics in a handgun that the state group ended up taking with them. There was plastic bag with suspected narcotics in the door, and in the secret compartment inside the car, and the handgun that they took away that day. Again, on the 6th of December. I'm sorry. Thank you. 6th of February. The one on the 13th, which was this past weekend, again, this was a 2022, but it was after the curfew was lifted. So we responded to the bar. We got a couple calls, one from a neighbor and one from inside the bar, that there was shots being fired. They were able to hear the shots over the phone. They arrived there. There were 50 plus people on the lot. It was kind of sounds like a pretty chaotic scene, getting everyone identified. They ended up having to taser one individual to get him to calm down in custody. But again, that was a patron. They did speak to our manager, and they were asked about cameras and surveillance footage, and they were unable to get that at that time. They found total between that night and the next day, they found 6 shell casings, which believed happened as there was an incident inside the bar. And most bar security is trying to get the people outside the area, which they did. The gentleman went out to his car and fired some rounds either in the air or at the business. We never found any place where the bullet hit, and but we did find 6 similar shell casings throughout that night, and when they went back in the morning after daylight. That was Friday night. On Saturday morning, when we went back, we found the additional casings. They called the owner because the business was left open, the front and back door. So they came to secure that. We again asked about the surveillance video. We're told we might get it later, and that it appeared that nobody that they had readily available was there to get that surveillance for us, which is really the only thing that we're going to have to go all out on that shooting, because including the person that we arrested, who we are confident was with him at the bar, nobody knows who this guy is, nobody gave any information, nobody gave any statements. But fortunately, nobody was seriously hurt. We identified as many people as we could for a follow-up. And then on Saturday night, Sunday morning, River Control came out again to assist. They witnessed a guy go in and out of the car 4 or 5 times. He would go out to the car, somebody would go out via the passenger window for a minute or two, and after that happened a couple times, they called, and the idea was that next time that they witnessed it, they were going to intercede, and the officers would come up and assist. It ended up, after that was the exact time it stopped happening again. So they went and approached the business. The male was pointed out and questioned, who was actually a security guard, who turned and handed his pistol to another security guard. We took the pistol. The security guard turned out to be a get him identified. He ended up trying to run with the officers and the agents. He ended up, he was tased, taken into custody. A search of the vehicle located marijuana and mushroom, which is what we believe he was selling. And he was charged with a number of different offenses for that. When the agents were trying to get their liquor agents have a whole different set of ordinances and laws that they follow compared to, obviously theirs are all liquor related, and if you apply for a liquor license, you have certain things that you have to surrender to the liquor agents that you may not have to surrender to the police department, including surveillance, cooperation with certain incidents. And as they were explaining that, we're trying to get the video from that incident, and they were told by the manager that the owner wasn't there. When I understood it, they were probably 5 feet from the room, that after back and forth for 5 to 10 minutes, that the Roman and the owner was in that same room that they were told that she was not on site. Inside that room, she had a laptop that was connected to the DVR by a cable, and both of those were seized because we were under the belief that evidence could be destroyed either from the shooting from the night before or from the shooting that was going on that day. So we took both of those items, and we're in control of them right now for either a signed consent form or a search warrant to figure out what was on those recording devices.
And I would just remind council that they were operating under some type of probationary license waiting for the transfer, that did come before council for the objections to the transfer. Council objected to our motion to object to that transfer. We have notified the liquor of our objections. You're probably also aware, but I don't think Mr. Lenny, I don't think he's here, but Shoreway Circle Incorporated presented a comprehensive notice to the tenant outlining the various breaches of what he considers breaches of the lease, and asking that the keys be returned voluntarily. Other than that, I hand it back over to you.
Anyone have any questions for the chief? Nothing. Seeing none, thank you, chief. We'll move on to the public speaking portion of the meeting. The floor is now open for recognition of the public. I remind speakers that all remarks will be directed to the chair. They will not involve personalities, and they're limited to 3 minutes per person, 30 minutes total. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the revocation of the CUP? Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the revocation of the CUP? If so, please step up to the podium. We'll be sworn in, and I need you to sign your name and address for the record.
Did you say get sworn in?
Yeah, the law director will swear you.
I don't need to start standing.
Okay,
I don't want to be the attorney.
I'm going to turn it out now.
Mrs. Gribble, I'll stand counsel.
I don't know if I'm going to be offering evidence. I'm an attorney that represents the establishment.
this is just for our record. That's all.
As was indicated, my name is Sam Thomas, and I'm the attorney that represents the establishment that we're here for. We met, the weather was much nicer, you remember, several months ago. It's unfortunate that the allegations that have been made, that brings us to this point. And I say allegations because I have not been presented with any evidence that has been investigated or anybody that's been prosecuted as a result of these investigations or arrested or whatever. that I know of. There may have been, but I'm not aware of it. And so I stand, on behalf of the owners of, the business, the bar, in objection. I feel that it's unconstitutional, what's going on. I found out 24 hours ago that this hearing was going to take place. And when I look at the agenda, there's only room on the agenda for, city officials, to make statements. I don't have a statement to make, as I indicated, or it's just great evidence to present, because like I said, I found out, 24 hours ago. And by the time I got back to my office, and it's been less than, my busy schedule in court today, I've had very little time to even become familiar with all of the allegations. So I stand in opposition. I think it's unconstitutional. I think it, doesn't, provide, the owners with, their due process.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council?
Jack, are you going to? Kathy also,
Yes, I'm the attorney, I represent the Flowers.
yeah, Kathy, could you also raise your hand up for me? So, yeah.
I was, near Mr. Thomas's comments also in that, I think that this is all a bit premature, when there hasn't been due process, there hasn't been hearing held, there has been no adjudication by the liquor control board in any of this. So I don't know, some of these comments here, that I could hear, where you're kind of already concluding, guilt without any due process. So we also object to likely to, defer this to the, full investigation and then to the presented. There's no due process here. That's what I understand. So I'd like to take that into consideration. And to give everybody an opportunity, to prepare. Rather than such a, for emergency meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council? Okay. Seeing none. Is there a motion to suspend the rule requiring separate readings and readings in full? I'm sorry, Mr. Zerman, you please read the legislation.
An ordinance revocating the authorizing of the issuance of a conditional use permit for a bar and party center to Michelle Hawkins for Vibes Lounge Events 34596 Lakeshore Boulevard, East Lake, Ohio 44095, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to suspend the rule requiring separate readings and readings in full? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Zerman, please call the roll.
Mr. Evers?
Yes.
Mr. Overstreet? Yes. Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Gully?
Yes.
Mr. Stein? Yes. Mr. Zerman, yes, and President Myers.
Yes. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Is there a second? Mr. Zerman, please call the roll.
Mr. Evers?
Yes.
Mr. Overstreet? Yes. Mr. Costello?
Yes.
Mr. Gully?
Yes.
Mr. Stein? Yes. Mr. Zerman, yes, and President Myers.
Yes, the motion carries. The legislation is adopted. We have nothing else in the legislation tonight. I don't believe we have any. Administrative report? Yeah. No report? Okay. Anybody have anything else? Okay. Seeing none. This meeting is adjourned at 6:27 p.m.
all members of the council are present, from the administration, we have the mayor, we also have our police chief, we have Michelle, our finance director. All of the directors are absent and excused. We have a thing on the agenda tonight, and that is the 2021 budget for the city of Eastlake. Before we look for that point, I'd like to congratulate Michelle and the administration on the recent audit findings by the state. Congratulations, that's a very good report to state. I think that's like 3 or 4 in a row.
Just as I went to the finance department after we got it, thank all of us.
Thank you
And
all.
obviously, credit goes to the finance department.
With that, I would like to turn the meeting over to the mayor and Ms. Chandel.
And I'll turn it off.
I gotta say, we're lucky again this year, because the auditors are coming back, so, cross my fingers, hope everything's good. But because of our COVID money, they are required, the federal government requires an audit. If you get over $750,000, which we did, thank you, but, that just means the auditors will be taking things again this year. Anyway, enough about it. First, we want to talk about the revenue. We did have a good last year, but we were supported very heavily by the government. And, this year's revenue, let's be real, most of our money comes in from taxes. One more paper to other. So I went to Rita, I got a number from Rita, it's lower than what we have. I went to the county, which I'm required to do, and they gave me a number. And it's lower than last year. So we're dealing with a little less revenue that is known at the time. That doesn't mean that there won't be federal programs that come along and help us out, but right now we're dealing with less money. So when I look at the general fund, which is the one that we do the bulk of our spending out of, taxes are down approximately $431,000 in this year versus last year. And then the local government funds and some miscellaneous things that come in from the state, down another $140,000. Everything that I could guess at, that was like fees and permits and charges, I left alone and said, well, last year I guess we'll be pretty close to this year, with the exception of the sale of assets. We had a good last year sale of assets. We sold quite a few things on the internet, and I wasn't comfortable projecting the same number, so I lowered that a little. Interest income, we all know, is lower, so I lowered that again from last year. Plus the fact that last year I had the COVID money in our account in advance. And so therefore, that $2 million isn't there to help me generate interest income, so I lowered that. The other line item that I lowered would have been workers' comp refund rebates. Because we all know that the state takes out tons and tons of rebates for multiple years. Now, I might get a little one here and there because I got it electronically, but for the most part, I'm not going to see the big rebates. So for the general fund, I'm down approximately $1,400,000 in cash. Now, I'm just saying that that's what we see today. It doesn't mean that's what we're going to end up, but that's what we're seeing in today's real number. So, that's the basis of what I had to work with. When you go to the report that you receive, and this one has the numbers on it, pages 1 through 4 are a summary of everything that we talked about tonight, and it is the legislation that you will need to approve. So 1 through 4 is legislation. You will see that come back. It's basically personnel, which is the wages, uniform, registration, anything that goes to a W-2, and other. I will talk about the detail of this, but this is what you will see come back through on legislation. What I provided to you in page 5, is what the year-to-date beginning of the fund looks like, what the receipts are that we anticipate, and the expenses, should you approve them, come in, so that I can tell you where you would, I really hope the worst case, end up at the end of the year. Worst case. You know, I hope we've got the bulk of our surprises out of the way, unless it's revenue coming into us. So that would be page 5. The receivers started out at almost 5 million, and we'll end it if everybody spends everything, and if the money doesn't come in any better than what we were told, which has never been the case, but it's possible, we would end up at 2.7. The next page, page 6, really is just a summary of fund balances. You know, way back when I first started, we had around $50,000. So you can see how we've improved, and you can see that the revenue for 20 and the actual revenue for 20 versus the budgeted revenue for 20, you can see there's a difference. You can see the expenses of actual versus the expenses for this year. You can see that there's a difference. These are just grand total numbers. It's not the detail. But it's giving you a flavor for work and pay. Page 7 through 10, 12, 13. That is the detail of the revenue, and why I wanted to tell you that. Now, okay, you look at the property tax. That's the very first line on page 7. In the general fund. Actually, we received 1.3 million, and we're going to close, but not quite. We're down almost 50,000. We're going to keep coming in at 1.276. Again, this is what the county gives me. That's what I'm using. Actually, I would probably use it. The numbers I give back to the county that they stamp their own numbers on. They put this number in. I didn't even make it up. They put the number. So I took it and put it in our report.
So next year we can blame Mike.
Not yet.
Well, not yet, next year.
Next time around.
All right, next time, I'll look at you. Why do we have to wait till next year?
That's right.
That's the detail, the support behind the revenue, and these are all the accounts of which I explained, you know, hey, if it's something that didn't come in from Rita, if it wasn't a tax number, let's say, if it wasn't a tax number, because we get tax money from the state, we get tax money from the county, so if it's not taxes, I probably kept it really, really close to the previous year. It weren't the same. With the exception of what I told you about, the interest, the sale of assets, the workers' comp refund, and then the tax. I don't know if anybody had any questions on any of these revenue numbers, but this is the detail for the revenue number. Okay. 14, page 14 is just actual revenues for the history, budgeted revenues for our history, showing you our trend. We've had some really, really great years. I think this year's going to be a good year. I just can't tell you today. I mean, geez, if you had a chance to look at the January financial statement and you look at the revenue number, it was so much lower than last year this time. But hey, were we having a problem with the mail? You know, was it possible it could come back in? Sure, anything's possible. I don't know. I mean, last year I think we had 700 something. This year we had 400 in January. Not a great day. But I'm looking forward to February. Okay. This is where we get into the budget figures. Page 15. It should be like right around when you're two pages. The general fund expenses. My practice is when I do the budget, that I either try to match last year's budget number if I can. If we've got the ability, I'll try to match it. Or if I need to add extra, I will add extra because of payroll and things like that. Or if there was a category that had an old bridge last year, you know, if it's all going up in a certain department, so then I'll try to cover that. But I try to keep it pretty close, if we can afford, to what they're used to in budget. There's one difference in this year's budget though, and there are places where it's significantly less. And that is, there was a capital asset purchase. We pulled all those assets out. There are no capital assets in this report with, like, we'll get to that. But there's no vehicles, there are no ambulances, trucks. There is no capital in here. You know, if somebody needs a small trailer, and even working in his equipment line, which is, again, significantly less than last year, fine and dandy. But you will not see any vehicles coming through, you won't see any large capital projects coming through at this point in time. Because it's,
You're just on that. So I've told the chief asked for some vehicles and Nick asked for a couple things, so I've told them and on most of this is like, yeah, Caroline saying, this is what we have now. I told everyone we'll look at things in June for vehicles or, I know the chief would like another policeman this year and obviously a few people. So again, we'll look then, to see where we're at. But at this point, I'm agreeing with Joanne where we're at on the vehicles and obviously the body. I didn't even put any bodies in at this point. But again, fire, we should be good from now going on with the 3 that we hire. I think how many more did you need besides the one?
Or the one retiring in October.
Yeah, so the retirement will replace, I mean, new besides retirement, what are you looking for, 1 or 2 more?
One this year.
Yeah, so then once we get, if we can get 1 this year and 1 next year, then we're good for police for years going, except for still in retirement. The vehicles are the vehicles, obviously, knock on wood. I won't bust on my friend in wood, because unfortunately, police crews getting wrecked and obviously insurance. But our vehicles been good, and you know, and honestly, you guys know we just got more vehicles everywhere, so hopefully, like I said, we'll take a look at it in July, we should have more numbers. And December, we're really looking for like a windfall when someone else is in the treasurer's office. Just saying, that was a joke for anyone to watch.
Hey, Mike, let's see pizza and get some food today.
Sorry about that, everyone.
the capital project, we have complete Stevens Boulevard both sides. We have to finish, we're working on Galleria, that's a huge project. We have to complete Plymouth and Wet, it may be done now, but it was not in this financial statement, so, you know, we have some large projects going on that are funded through loans, grants, so you'll see that there's actually money for those. The only capital project is the Splash Park, and it is in Fund 3438, and it includes some engineering costs, and that is the only thing that's added as a capital project for this budget. So as we go through it, you will see it, but it's the only thing that I'm aware of in here, and I put all the numbers together, so it's kind of hard to put something else in there.
What page is that on?
It's Fund 438. So, it would be page 37. Recreational capital improvement. Now, we get a grant, that's great. If you don't, this is what I write in the budget. It's taking funds out of the general fund funded, but that's the only capital project. So if we can go back to page 15, where we're talking the general expense. Payroll is in here with a 3% raise because that's the contract. And the rest of the expenses are pretty much, again, last year's budgeted figures. But there are some things that I need to highlight and bring to your attention in the general fund. If you look at page 15, and it would be about 2, 4, 6, about 7 from the bottom, 101, 142, 5336. It's a RETA expense. Rita expense is a function of the revenue as it comes in. We advance 3% for Rita for the work that they do, and when they're very efficient, they send us a check June or July. So the 3% that is matches our revenue is your figure here for cost. But that's not last year's cost. Because last year's cost, I got that efficiency testing, and I lowered our cost because of it. But I don't know, I never know. I never know if we're gonna be at a 2.5% cost, 2.25%, 2.75%. I'm never sure until we closes their book and distributes funds. They hold a meeting and then they say, oh, great, you know, we did really well, and here's the money coming back. So today I don't know. Refund income tax. Wow. That's a guess, total guess. In case you're not aware of the fact that there are multiple lawsuits going on against the state of Ohio, because the state of Ohio has determined that as of today, where you work is still where you're paying your taxes, even though you may be working from home. These refunds, Rita has taken the policy to stand. You can apply for the refund. We'll stand it, we'll put it on hold, we'll stick the part of that, so we know where the state's going. Well, gee, what if we get hit with some refunds? So it's large, but it's what we had budgeted last year, and truthfully, we've had years as high as 188,000. So 175 is my highest. So that's what we went with. We went with 175. It's a ballpark figure. I'm praying that it comes in lower, but I don't know, and I won't know. And, you know, these cases could last 3 years, so it could be back to 125 jobs again next year. But that's where we stand again. Questions so far? Okay. In 240, 140, we lowered the city hall cost for repairs. We increased the cost for insurance. We had to keep the examiner fees in there. Our workers' comp rate went up, and our hospitalization is up. And hospitalization is up tremendously.
I know we said between 25 and 30.
No, right now, they're shopping it, but right now we're at 29.8%. So I put in 30, but here's another thing. You know all these young guys we hire? It's wonderful. They're single. Well, by the end of the year, they got a family. And I think one single guy is converted to a family, it's like $200,000 when you take 12 of them. So I put in 4 some single guys for a family. So, yeah, hospitalization is huge. I'm praying it comes in low. I don't have an answer. We're currently shopping. You said it's laughing at me.
No, it's fine. He's talking about his friends in the court.
Okay. So that's where we are. Hospitalization had to go up significantly. I don't know that there's anything else that I need to bring to your attention in there. But I'm open to questions.
And on the insurance, we won't have our final numbers for around April.
Yeah.
But the way we're looking at it, I don't think it'll go down. If it does, I don't know if anyone else did for one, if it goes down, it'll be 4 to 5% of that. But you never know.
Is that a yearly negotiation?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we want April 1st to March 31st.
Yeah. We fill out a form called Form Hire all our employees every year, talking about, well, obviously Medical Mutual knows what our claims are. Then we fill this out, it goes out into the group, and if there's someone else who wants to bid or wants to give us that, we'll find out. Again, we don't know until probably around almost March or April. April when we start it out with Medical Mutual, we stay with them.
Right, so the budget's due April 1st. But you don't know the insurance.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we put the 30%. I mean, obviously,
Just
we're
the
making
language.
adjustments, but.
Yeah, the dollar amount.
But from years past, we know it doesn't move that much, so we said 30. I talked to a couple other cities and know what their downside said, let's throw 30 in, and then I'm sure like, they came with 29 in, I'm like, oh, we're pretty close.
And with them trying to negotiate and get us a lower rate, sometimes we truly find out that last week of March, and then we're scrambling for cars. You know, so we push as hard as we can to get better rates, but it also impacts on timing too. Okay. The rest of, on page 17, 101 before, you have a lot of transfers, which I will talk about when we get to those funds. They're a little different than last year, but they're needed, and that's why I want to talk about the different funds. 101-250, that's a retirement plan, it's a function of payroll goes up, I gotta see more of them. Again, the bulk of the changes are wages. And if you see something that says, you know, there's a positive number over last year, look and see what last year's budget was. It's probably the same as last year's budget. For instance, training. You know, she wants to do training. I'm required by law to do training. We did everything online, even though there was a great training seminar that was scheduled for downtown Cleveland. We did everything online, which significantly cuts the cost, but at the same time doesn't allow for sometimes the sharing of the ideas and the communication with other finance directors that, or police officers that maybe we should have once in a while just to compare notes to see where it stands. So, you know, those things are here. They may be weren't here last, they may be weren't incurred last year, but nonetheless, it's the same budget amount as the prior year. Let's see. Again, I don't know that, did anybody have any questions on the general fund?
We, added back in community center expenses. Community center expenses, is that added back in?
What do you mean in terms of?
Utilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've added those costs. That would be on page 20, the tax, it's still called tax center, but the senior center. And then in her grant as well, but we have, gas, electric, and things like that, that we're gonna have. Significant improvements to building again are not in here. Anything that means significant improvements is going to have to come before you. Maybe some doors or city hall roof. You know, those are things that we see, start to see water marks and water, I don't know where we stand with this, but we're gonna have to come to you.
They're getting estimates for the roof repair. They're gonna look week down the week. So we're gonna check, and not here down hall, so we're having someone give us estimates on the roof. But again, we didn't put it in the budget, so we see what it is.
The CARES Act, grants that we received and the money that we received in 2020, what was the total on that? Do you know?
It is Fund 207, and I can tell you the exact amount, because I put it, I'm sorry, 206, because I put it in here, even though we have no money this year to spend, just so that you could see the exact amount of $2,793,076.40. It didn't all come from the Fed. The Fed rule was, because I had their cash, I'm gonna give them a little bit of interest. So that's a combination of what they gave me plus the interest that it earned while it was sitting in our bank account. Okay? Yeah, that money reduced wages in some categories. So there's going to be some increases in wages because if you look at what we reportedly spent, isn't maybe what was real that department because CARES picked up some of it. So again, it was, the budget for wages is based on exact names, time spent here, longevity that they get, and spelled out in detail. It's only overtime and things like that, maybe I have to guesstimate, but everything else is by person, so I didn't have to guess how much money went here and how much went to department for later. Okay? Anybody else have any other questions on these? Somewhere in the page, we get to the other funds. So that'd be about page 22-1, because it's time for fun, and what is it in?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Meredith, on the 520 fund, did we include some money for to help the YMCA with the operation of the pool?
We did not at this point because we figured what we talked to some of the vendors is it may not be in this year, so that's why we haven't put those costs. We've engineering, and again, start to see where we're at, in case we have to have money down or anything. And again, as the procedure will be, I've already talked to Tom for some stuff on the David shop, waiting for that. Once we see whatever bid comes in, then that's when they jump.
I think
No, I asked about pool.
Pool. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, the pool is, we put 35,000 in to operate,
That's probably.
Houston this year. That's all right. Yes, we did, 35,000.
Okay, very good, thank you.
For operation, we had money in to repair the building.
Right.
We did that from last year, carried over.
Okay, Fund 201, the state highway fund. It is made up of gasoline tax and motor vehicle licensing, and it covers route fees. We pay the county. Kind of simple. We pay the county enough that if the county actually in fuel count, so we see the county charge come back through. That's limited to what we get from the county in this one. I mean, what we get for, gasoline tax and motor vehicle licensing. 202, street maintenance and repair. Again, gasoline tax, motor vehicle licenses. This one actually has a little bit more revenue than the other one does. And it pays for road repairs, street signs, traffic signals, which are forever breaking, and payroll to do the street work. I'm sure 203 brought some questions in the back of your brain when you talk about some of these numbers. I have asked that the general fund transfer some money to this account. It gets the permissive tax, but the permissive tax does normally barely cover the cost. And we still have a motor rate that we have to pay for. So that was 30,000 we did not last year, and 30,000 we're going to do it again this year. So I asked for an extra 100,000 to be transferred into this fund. And it's a little confusing, so I'll try not to be too confusing on it, but our salt that we got in 2018, it was actually contracted for the year before, it was $26.77. In 2020, when we brought salt in, it was $63.13. I did not negotiate this. We go to the state. Now, here's the other part that makes it a little confusing. I'm going to come to you in March, and I'm going to say I need 2,800 ton or 2,000 ton or whatever the number we think we need. I don't know the price. I just know about how much I need. If we don't pay for it by December, because we're living off of last year, then the next year, I could have double payments. Well, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I'm sitting here going, well, gee, I did not pay for a single ounce of salt that you and I committed to in March, which is $121,000. But I'm going to come back to you in March and ask for more. And if we should need it, if we should buy it in October or November, there's a whole lot this year. I couldn't pay for it. So I'm asking for $100,000 to make sure that we kind of get back in sync with the year we buy it and commit to it, so that we can pay for it when we have to. We don't have that ability to pay for that stall in the same year we make this contract right now, because of this price going from 26 to 63. Again, all we can do here is control the quantity, so we're gonna lower the quantities a bit. But we can't be without salt, and it's a gas. I mean, geez, we're asking you to commit in March. We haven't even finished the winter season. We're buying salt in March, and we won't know the price until June. So that's what I'm asking for. From the general fund, $100,000, just to cover the same year's worth of purchases that we need to buy in October. Did I lose everybody, or everybody? Okay. Kind of thinking, feeling I had something on the 60 grid, like, oh, we paid for this. I know that this year's salt that we committed to is less, it's about 48. So it went up to 63, now it's back to 63.13, now down to 48. So it won't be as much, but what the rest of the winter look like, and when they're gonna charge us, because where people had to be home in COVID, you know, I don't have answers to that. So anyway, 206, that's the air. We obviously are not getting money at this point in time, nor are we spending, so I wanted to account and show you what we have received and how we have spent it, like the 31st, like the rule. Page 25, talk about state grants. The large grant this year is the ODNR grant. We've got $245,000 coming in, and we've got $245,000 going out. Realistically, what comes in should go out, it's just a timing difference. 208 is federal grant. This one's a little, state similar, but this one's a little different, because this one we get every year, except for one portion of federal grant. It's the victim's assistance, but the grant cost. So we as a city have to put in more to keep the program running. So I have asked the general fund to transfer in, instead of $23,000, I'm asking to transfer in $42,000 for the program. Questions? I mean, some of the grants require a match. We usually do some kind of work to make up the match. You know, so next guy go out and clean shrubs, or cut shrubs, or lay out, or something to be the match. So it doesn't cost us like this one, that particular program. Okay. 209 and 210 are the pensions. The money comes in from the property tax people, on their tax bill, and then we pay it out, and it's just paid on payroll. That's both of them. 212, stormwater management. Large numbers in this category right now, but whatever is coming in is going back out, or right now, whatever goes out from back in. This is the one that county manages for us, but we have Galleria, Plymouth, and Clinton going on. None of them are taking, per se, cash out of our office books today, but they're all in the grant. And someday later on, we have to make those payments, but right now, it's a reflex program. So that's, stormwater. 216, the fire levy, which pays for wages. This is another one where if you look at it, you would have said, oh my gosh, she pays wages like, $869,000. No, I did not. The CARES Act picked up about $640,000 of this increase. So I can tell you that last year, against the fire department budget, 640 was low, because that cost didn't go through this fire budget. It went through our CARES. But the cost was there last year, and the cost is here this year, so I'm really only increasing it for 3% plus 3 fire. I'm not increasing it 859, 870 pounds. A little misleading, Unless you keep in mind that, you know, the CARES Act paid for a substantial portion of our money for a couple months. 301, our bond retirement. You see a lot of changes in that one too. That's because we had to report the bond money coming in and the bond being retired and all these accounting things that say, hey, we got rid of the old debt. The new debt is in here at $1,075,000 for principal, $122,000 approximately for interest. It's kind of simple in this line category right now. It is funded by property tax, but obviously not enough. So property tax plus a transfer from the general fund, plus a transfer from, in a convoluted way, the rent on the captain's station. It goes into a place and then it gets transferred over here. So there's two places that support this fund, and that is transfer and property tax. Property taxes I got from the county again, so I have this transfer. Our transfer from the general fund is a little lower, and the transfer from other funds, I'm hoping to be able to transfer $150,000 from the other funds. Captains will have some kind of gain, we'll get some kind of money, and we'll be able to offset it. You know, $150,000 more. Fund can afford it right now. So we're okay, but I know, I need that money coming in.
Once we get there, how long did it last?
1 year, if there's no payment. 1 year, if there's no payment. As you can see right here, we've got almost $300,000, and I'm taking $150,000 that I'm hoping is going to come in. So, this year and next year. Okay, 402, the road improvement fund. In the past couple of years, we did some large transfers because we had some large road projects coming through. We had to make those payments to the state last year. Remember, I did these payments for Stevens Boulevard? And then we had to have some money for the road for Stevens. We had to have some money for the drive the year before. So we were transferring in here. There is no project in here this year that is new. It's called the old project, which we should be able to continue to fund. And we hopefully can build this fund back up. But right now it's pretty stable. But I'd like to be able to, at some point in time, have this get a little stronger, so that the next road project we have to have instead of taking it from the general fund. But for this year, it looks stable, and I'm going to be happy with the stable fund. Okay, 410 fire levy. This is the equipment. Okay, on the payments are less than last year because we had the ambulances and the fire trucks. And this year we just have the fire truck. So that's a good thing. Fire truck, we purchased 167, 808 in there. I didn't have to do any transfers in it. I'm straight, plain and simple, letting the property tax fund this year. Stadium repairs and maintenance for R&I fund 416. It's not it's the one that's going to get from the general fund 30,000 so that it can maybe spend 31 and the money is there. Okay. For 21 Stadium High Street, the local vet tax was it, and the stadium paid for it. So, hopefully we have a little bit more money in that fund. When it's all said and done, we transfer that to the debt fund so that we can pay off from the general fund. 423 sewer rate out fund. The money comes in from basically the sewer collection, and it goes sewer debt is increasing, and so therefore, our expenses are going up a little bit. They will continue to go up. And yes, I have transfer debt scheduled for everything that I'm aware of in that. I have an appendix just for your information. This is the black part, 438. I'm transferring in, out of the general fund, 8,000, remaining 280,000. So this is one of those, transfers that I talked about. I guess we'll get to it later. This is to support that budget. 501 sewer. Basically, at this point in time, it's strictly the sewer charges and the maintenance. Some extra engineering because we're in engineering phase, but we're certainly not in any project phase right now. For improvements, we pay the city of Willoughby for operational purposes to help support the operation of the plant. But we also pay the city of Willoughby for debts that incurred on behalf of our shared property. So I looked that line out a couple of years ago, and they do have said that their debt payments will go up in 2022. I'm like, my bills are going to go up in 2022, I guess. But strictly the debt that we've incurred and payments coming due. You can see that this fund is, I think, trending a little lighter than what it was in the past, but not significant at this point in time. That's back on page 38, where it's trending a little lighter. Yeah, every time we go and say, yeah, we can get that. We did.
That's a base in for saying like during that time comes.
606. This is the grant we get from the county for the senior center. And again, there's some salaries in here, but a lot of utility costs. I don't know what our utility costs are going to be in that building. So there's utility costs. There's a little bit more from programs. I suspect that next year it'll flip, and then there'll be a lot more for programs, a lot less for whatever we need, because we'll have a real number, first of all, for utilities, and second of all, maybe she will be settled in and we'll have programs running. But for now, we're concentrating her funds on utilities and some small repairs. Nothing big, they gotta come to you before we do any big projects. Alarm monitoring, and, whatever we get for alarm monitoring payments, it comes in, it goes out, it's not real big, and usually each day goes up for a large project. Donations, again, I can guess what comes in, but like we do have the detail on all the donations, and we can tell you who has what for, what kind of programs, or mobile lines, or safety tower, whatever. We know the detail on this, but I didn't provide it. It's kind of a pain in the neck to try to get all that detail out. And I don't know how the donations are coming in, so I just said, here's what's coming in, and what goes out is what's required to go out. Donations. Law enforcement stuff, what comes in, and I basically said, we can spend it as long as it's in compliance with the laws, and there's not a lot in there. We got about 15,000. Fire ambulance, 617. That is what the ambulance brings in. Every time the ambulance goes out of run, we put that money into this account. And this account is paying for the education and the training more so than anything in the fire department, but it is for those kinds of wages. It, okay, so it includes some, longevity, but it's really their training wages, their overtime for training, some supplies, training costs. Unclaimed trucks, well, a lot of people, you know, like, unclaimed pay, unclaimed money every year, and they say, well, the city has different rules, where we put it into this unclaimed truck. We try to, a lot of them are, you know, your normal, deposits, or even employees, who also check. So we try to clear them out as we can. So we can't clear out, we put in unclaimed. After 7 years, the state keeping it, he gets it. So there's not a lot of money there. Recreation and land acquisition, we know that last year that was the Forex land, and this year there's not, obviously not money to go anywhere, but we included some kind of revenue. State Memorial Trust, Corporal Garden Memorial Park. I've only budgeted them in case somebody needed to use the money for a special purpose, but I have no purpose, I just budgeted it so that if they needed to, they could, there's not a lot of money. 670 is senior bus trip. That is to pay for lake trams. Okay, it goes back to, this is new. The seniors got together and raised some money, and then they had some money, and they wanted to use it for transportation. It's obviously not enough, it was $70,000. It wasn't enough to buy a bus. So they thought, well, maybe we should give it to the city so that they can pay for that bus trip that we're required to spend each year. We're required to spend $10,000. 2 lake trams, like 8 or 3 months. Well, they decided, the seniors said, well, if we give it to each place, then that $10,000 at least is going for transportation, which is what we tried to raise money for. So we're allowed to spend $10,000, because that's our lake train cost. Should we incur lake train costs this year? We didn't incur a lot of lake train costs last year, so therefore it's not a round pretty, 60 left. It actually ended up with, we got 60, so we didn't spend 10, we spent like 2,500 by the time we shut down the busing for their program. But should the program be up and running, then they can spend 10. And right now, I've already paid 800 because we didn't do anything in January, but I budgeted to spend. Okay, 700, what comes in, goes out. You want to get some kind of building permit because you're doing some work on your house. You give the city a check. We cash it. When it passes inspection, we give that. That's what 700 is all about. Whether it's for street opening or building of some project, 700 is strictly. You gave me a check, I am reviewed. You gave me a check, I cashed it. Once you passed inspection, I gave it back. So I just try to budget them to be really low. The rainy day fund is 865. You can see that there is no activity going in and out of this account. Page 56, the 27th page. I'm still asking for 40,000 from the general fund to support this. I find it interesting that the 27th page is going to be a year of 2027. I think I should remember that. I won't, but next year we need to have enough to make the payroll. So I'm asking for 40,000 from the general fund to help make that payroll that year. 802, I'm asking to budget the same as last year, which is to cover compensated absences. We have a lot of retirements coming through. I'd like to be able to cover those. Exhibit A, as I mentioned before, is your capital project. Exhibit B is your, you can see we've got 1 and a few months left on the lower lease. We have a bunch of OWBA projects, and those are in process in terms of payments and settling final amounts. the fire department's, fire truck, OPWC, we paid about $37,000 on one project. And we will be paying over 20 years for Willie Drive, Stevens Boulevard, and then the Plymouth Plaza. And most importantly, the bottom line is your new stadium exhibit, yes. We can see that also is paid off in 2027. 2027, I'll have a lot of activity. I know I ran through this very quickly. Yes, sir.
Are we carried over from last year, 2020? Here?
You mean for the, any fund, the general fund?
Just an overall for the city.
Okay. If you go to page 5, when we talk about for the city, we talk about the general fund. So page 5 gives you that fund balance of 4.461,823. Because we have encumbrances. So you have to have a cash balance, but we made a lot of commitments. For example, the roof, exactly right. We promised to pay $107,500. So this is after all those promises.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Owen?
I'd like to make a suggestion. And I know when we created the rainy day fund, we talked about adding a little something to it every year. If we like at least something to it every year, even if it's such a small amount.
We're looking for something else.
I don't know.
When you
Catch something down, you know, I don't know.
Is there a way we could add, a non-labor for the 27th pay?
Well, we have a separate one for the one.
So I'm using that as a dollar amount, as a consideration, you're adding 40,000 for the rate, for that 27th pay, which is 40,000.
Yeah, just so we should get enough to have of adding to it every year.
The same principle, I guess.
Yeah.
We just throw 50 in it every year.
I'm good with
Hopefully
that.
we never touch it, just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with 50 if you're comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that.
All right, we'll make that change.
Yeah.
That's more my budget.
Yeah,
That's Julie.
Didn't you, I know you and I talked at one point, are you, still planning to budget something for some playground equipment?
Yeah, we're actually getting costs, and then like Caroline said, if we end up doing that, we'll put it in there.
Okay.
I'm down to really actually Willow Way and, Quinton.
Yeah.
Cause after I went back to Surfside, when we looked, when the play park goes in, we may not need something there. I got a couple prices. It's not real expensive, but something maybe it can go to if they're in that area.
I think that stuff is going to be maintained, it's not bad.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what Willow Way is. Willow Way is really old stuff. Willow Way and Quinton are the two I'm looking at the hardest. And right now, yeah, that's in the possibly 19 at Willow Way, and I think maybe 20 Quinton. But there's a couple things I want to look at and throw to some people that obviously younger people that use it to see what it is. I do like the one that's at the community center that had like a catch-all of everything. So that's what we're trying to do. Most of the emails I'll get from anyone, especially in Surfside and some of the other areas, I know we did put 2 new Bailey swings at Surfside, and those right now are being used a lot. So there's a couple things I want to look at that he sent me, and I'm sure we can figure out. We go back and forth, if we're gonna reinstall the basketball hoops at Willow Way, from the residents over there that complain, but again, we'll take a look at that. And again, like everything else, I don't mind having these things until they start tearing them off. I mean, my goal is to paint. One of the things that we're going to paint Willow Way Pavilion. I want to clean up Jackie's Pavilion, and obviously more active like we did that in nice working order so people can go and use that for barbecues and out on weekends if they choose to. So it's not a ton of money. Again, some of the things with getting, Iron Bridge, he's
save the money and profit the money. Because obviously, we don't have to go to outside contractors now, he's been doing he did, a lot of work for the doors, so we didn't have to pay high price for that. He's actually working with, welding, and we're putting in those holes for those cameras we have, so he handled that. Before, we'd have to go out and get someone, and Caroline said, that signal service system we have is a ton of money a year, we're just repairing all the traffic signals and all that every time they come out, so. I thought about it again, but I mean, we'd have to eventually get some extra people, is that our people be trained on that, like Willie has, traffic light and traffic, they have a division, and they actually are gonna help us, coordinate the cameras with our city, so I'm talking to y'all about that, again, no cost, but just, our mutual working with each other, and that's what we've been doing lately, so.
Any other questions from the administration or our finance director?
I think we should move it forward, three readings of the report.
Move forward with those changes we discussed.
I will move forward. Caroline, you need this by March
31st.
first.
First.
That's close on three readings.
Really,
March and not in February?
We should be fine as long as everyone's healthy and everyone's.
You can do first reading, and then you have the 9th and the 23rd. You got three readings.
We have three readings, if there's a work, if there's something else,
Yeah.
That would be the 9th.
Whatever permitting is.
people's health and everything.
Yeah,